Just mic'd up with Mikie Mahtook. Got the boys in. I got Lloyd. We got Mitch. We got Jackie Boyd.
He tried to jump up and he might have knocked it in.
Good timing. Let's go. What a start to the Monday. I mean, I'm from Lafayette. My boys will come in and say,
oh, God. So I'm me and Joe on the ground. I got Joe in the headlock. And he's sitting there, he's punching me in the stomach, like, punching me.
Here, is everyone sitting around? Who here thinks Ochiko can practice today after having 5 full beers? And he goes, Chad Jones, right? Chad's doing the 6 minutes. For 7 minutes, right? Chad's like, no, man, I don't think Ochiko can practice today. And I was like, I look back and I'm like, Jesus Christ. I saw you there. You're more fucked up than me.
On the spirit plane had some issues, I think. She was sleep farting.
You heard her or you just thought it was her?
I sat right next to her. I smelled it.
Whoa. What was that?
Time for the show. I'm late. Like, I don't even know what I'd be doing.
Now, when you do go to spring training, are you gonna bring your chinchilla and your turtle? My dad tell you about it.
The SEC is, God, they hate fat people. I mean, I get crushed for that. You know what I mean? It's like, come on, man.
Hey, just the South, bro. You got a bunch of food down here. Like they should.
Where's look at Lloyd.
You know what, Lloyd?
You're looking for a recruiting coordinator, coach. I'm here.
He's like, I'll piss my pants right now.
No way.
We're wearing gray pants, long gray pants. He goes, I'll piss my pants right now.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to Mic'd Up. It's going to look a little different today. You got your boy here. I'm here with Lloyd in the booth over here.
Moving on
Our
up.
host is... Well, he's not here today. He's out doing real life stuff right now, so the boys are actually taking care of things. But first, let me get to this, because it's a very special day in the life of Jared Mitchell today. Today, April 22nd, is the birthday of my mother. So I want to wish a happy birthday to my mom. Everybody in the chat, please give a happy birthday to my mom. I'm not sure if she's watching right now, but she would really appreciate it. And we'll start there. But now we'll get back to what was probably everybody else's
Early curtain call.
great time and how to
Oh, there's
great
our
time.
host.
Let's do this.
You might zoom in. You might get a little. Mikey, any thoughts? Happy birthday to Jared's mom. So rude, dude.
There it is. But we'll give some love to the boys, right? So we finally got one, boys. LSU got us a win this weekend. That's good. But before we get too much into anything that happened that weekend, let's start with this one. Congrats to LSU gymnastics for a national championship. We just went ahead and moved Titletown from all the way up north, and it's now here in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. This is where we do it all. This is Titletown now, right? Yeah. Congrats to LSU gymnastics, national championship. First one ever in program history. Next national championship on the board for the program, for the sporting program at LSU, and we'll just keep moving forward like that. But Gage jump sets the tone for LSU against Missouri this weekend. The boys go over there to Columbia, Missouri, right?
Yes.
Columbia, Missouri, get them a nice dub, series win. So that will be the first SEC series win of the season. Don't let it be the last. We'll keep moving forward. We expect more. The boys are going to kind of get hot right now, and it's summertime. It's about time we start getting rolling. That, we also got the Pelicans drop game 1 on Sunday night against the Thunder. They will be back in action on Wednesday at, what time we got, Lloyd? 8:30 p.m.?
8:30 p.m.
8:30 p.m.
Late win.
Boys are back in action there. So that right now is really what we got as the Heineken headlines right here. But we're going to jump a little deeper into this LSU baseball and into this SEC baseball talk, because it is now the summer. Like, it's the summer of the baseball season, especially the college baseball season. The boys are about this close to getting out of school. It's starting to get hot everywhere. Obviously, it wasn't hot in Columbia this past weekend, but it's starting to get hot everywhere else. It's about that time. So we're going to jump into that conversation a little bit more. We'll start with the huge congrats to Gage Jump. We already said it a little bit, but what you saw from him on Friday night is why he was brought here. It's what you wanted to see out of him, what you expected to be getting out of him. And let's go ahead and be completely fair and quite honest. I'm not sure they were expecting to see this out of him any earlier than what it's come. And that's just being completely honest. I think he had maybe less than 20 innings in his entire college career leading up to this season, the start of this year, right? So you got to understand, it was going to take him a little time. He was going to have to find his feet, get his feet wet, get his legs kind of going, get comfortable where he was, because he hasn't been on the mound in that setting for a while. Looks to me like he finally got there in Columbia. And it was also good to see that he did it in not very good weather conditions, because I expect him to be able to kind of build off of that, right? Like, that's a tough place to go in and pitch at. It's a tough weather setting to kind of go in and play at, especially after what you've kind of had all year, and then you got to go back to that. That was tough. Great to see him pitch that way. He kind of set the tone for the weekend for the Tigers, and the Tigers were able to go ahead and get the series win. Now, I know a lot of people are like, oh, but it was Missouri. We needed a sweep. And last time I checked, teams that are usually 0-for-5 in series and they haven't won a single series yet, they don't usually just go ahead and flip to sweeping the next team. You got to build. You got to stack chips. You got to gain momentum. You got to get the snowball rolling. I think that was a really good start to get the snowball rolling. You saw a team almost make a comeback on Saturday night, right? Still lost about 1 run. These are all really positive signs, and I like the direction that they're going. They're showing some life. They're getting off the mat. You have the Auburn Tigers coming in here next weekend, who are pretty much in a worse situation than you are. They just got swept this weekend, if I remember, right? Mm-hmm. So they got swept this past weekend. You have a chance to start making a run. And when you are 3-12 to going into the weekend?
For LSU?
Yeah.
Yes.
Pretty sure when you're 3-12 to going into the weekend, making a run is as best as you can ask for. And that's what they have right now, and you have an opportunity to do that. Lloyd, what did you see from this weekend that you like, that you want to kind of highlight, and that you kind of want to bring up a little bit?
So what I saw, and correct me if I'm wrong, because this is just me watching from the outside in. Like, I played this more on a very small scale, but watching the LSU team, it felt like it was – we talked about this a lot on the show, of finding a sense of normalcy within, whether it be the lineup or the rotation, just a sense of, like, you know what you're getting every day when you come to the ballpark from a player's perspective. And I feel like you're starting to see that a little bit with whether it be the emergence of Larson as a freshman in the outfield, or Paxton Kling collecting a couple of hits and big hits whenever you needed him to do it, like those type of things. And now you got Milazzo behind the plate. I know Brady Neal, Coach Jay updated him today. He had a bit of a shoulder injury. It's not anything that's going to keep him out permanently, right? But just a little bit of an aggravation of a shoulder injury that he did in rehab. So he's trying to get healthy, sets him back a little bit. But maybe, I don't want to say a blessing in disguise, but a blessing in disguise, because you're starting to feel like these spots that you were interchanging people with and not having a sense of, all right, we know what we're going to get every time we walk into the ballpark. Like, right. I know where I'm slotted. I'm going to play right field today. You can put me wherever in the lineup, but at least I know I'm playing today. That, it feels like, for better or worse, whether it be through injury or the emergence of people that you wanted to see. Jay was putting everybody out there. Jake Brown, go take a spot. Larson, go take a spot. Milam wiggled his way into second base and never left.
Yeah.
Like, that was not the plan going into the year. It was, we're moving an outfielder back to the infield. He played it in high school. That's the plan. Instead, you see somebody wrestle a spot away and, like you said, get a little selfish. Once you get that spot, don't give it up. Like, it's not a slight on anybody on the team. I want to play.
Yeah.
And you're starting to see the competitiveness of some of these guys, whether it be a Larson or a Kling, who could have easily been down and out. But he's like, I got to figure this thing out, because as much as you hate to say it, as far as this LSU team goes, it might be on the back of Paxton Kling. It doesn't have to be a world beater, just a sense of normalcy in the lineup where you're not an automatic out. Somebody that you expected to be a producer for your baseball team is now showing up, and I think that's shown up in the continuity of the lineup, whether it be on the offensive side and on the pitching staff. You're starting to see Gage Jump settle into that Friday night role, and that's his best he's probably ever pitched in, at least in college. I'm sure he's had some
Probably in his
gyms.
college career.
Yeah, absolutely in college, but that's as good as you can pitch. I don't expect it to be that every time, because it's not, but for him to kind of set the tone, like you said, with you're looking for LSU, who's absolutely standing 8 count, come out and get a 10-run rule. You're like, okay, this is the kind of LSU baseball that you wanted to see, and Jay said it in his presser today. It's like, that's what happens when we play complementary baseball. We're capable of scoring, and we're capable of stopping the other team. Yeah. We've just done it on different days, and it's never lined up. You get a 10-run rule against a not very good Missouri team whenever both things line up, and you saw that happen. And so for the pitching staff, I love what I saw from Jump. I think Holman, you can look back at one pitch in that game and see where it tilted. He had two strikes, 2 outs, gives up, I think it was a single, and then they score 4 runs in an inning, and it all 2-out hits.
Yeah.
And that's what you're talking about when you have to play winning baseball. LSU was able to do that in Game 3, where they got, I think, 3 hits with 2 outs and scored 3 runs. Like, it's not ever going to be easy, but in Game 3, Milam draws a walk, and you're off and rolling. It just, you start, like you said, stacking chips. You can do that in innings.
Yeah.
Just putting something in the bucket. And LSU made a stride in that direction. But I think the biggest overall takeaway was absolutely finding, like, okay, now we have 9 or 10 guys. Like everybody else, you had your chances. How far are we into the year? How many games have we played? All right, you know where you are. And so for LSU to find that thing out, and I don't expect Larson to stay this hot. You just, from a freshman, but hey, keep swinging it while you're in there. You've earned the right to be able to fall into a slump at some point. Same thing with Kling. Like, it feels like he's dragging himself out of it. So now that you have a lineup that you can set every day and go out and, have a little bit of confidence in, I think that was the biggest takeaway, because now you know who you're playing with.
Yeah.
And
yeah, I mean, I would agree, dude. Like, I think it's huge. It's something you need. It's really good to see.
It's something you haven't had yet.
You haven't had it. And look, it's, once again, it's not to say that anybody's not good enough or that everybody that they're putting out there just doesn't fit the bill. But I think there becomes some point in the season where somebody's going to have to be pissed off. And it doesn't mean that they have to be bad teammates when they're pissed off, but somebody's going to have to be pissed off because there's just not enough spots, right, on the field for everyone to go out and play. Just is what it is at the end of the day. And so when you get guys kind of get in there and get stingy and start doing some things, you also start getting guys that kind of have they know what was expected of them, right? Like, we know Tommy's out there. Like, you look at it when you watch Georgia play. They play Charlie Condon everywhere. He's played center field. He's played third base. He's played the corners. He's played everywhere. But you know what? He's probably hitting in the 2 or 3 spot every day, and you're going to get it. He knows that. He has that peace of mind. I don't know which glove I'm going to grab yet, but I know I'm in this lineup, and I'm pretty much in the same spot. Early in the year, you had a lot of guys moving, not knowing why, not knowing where. Maybe it was performance, maybe it wasn't, maybe it was lefty, maybe it was righty, maybe he felt good today that it was supposed to be lefty, but he didn't get the chance. Like, there's a lot of stuff going on, and it's hard to get guys to get in there and just say, all right, autopilot, I'm on go. You know who's on autopilot?
Tommy White.
Tommy White. Look at those numbers. Now, I'm not saying that Tommy White hasn't earned that, because he's earned every bit of it. But those things do help when it comes to getting people comfortable. And look, we can sit here and talk all we want about who they are and what they've done so far. At the end of the day, the season's not over yet, right? So if the season's not over yet, and there's still time to do pretty much, I won't say everything. You probably won't be able to win the conference now, but to be able to get yourself into the postseason, there's still that opportunity. So if there's still that opportunity and they get into the postseason, we can't sit here and say, oh, Jay did a bad job of coaching, right? There's no perfect way to go about it. There's no perfect way of finding what actually works. But it is good to start seeing a little bit of sense of normalcy. It is good to, I will say this, if there is anything that kind of throws me off, if you will, or if anything that I find is weird, but I'm glad it's kind of getting to the point that it is when we meaning LSU, backs on the mat, almost at pretty much an 8 count, and you got to get up to be able to continue the fight. We finally took the time to say, Paxton, yeah, you go be a leadoff guy now. Like, we going to stick you there, right? For me, I'm like, well, if that's the case, he probably should have been that guy game 1 then, right? That's what we needed to be able to do, right? Like, that's probably the guy we should have stuck there game 1. So if there's anything, like, that's probably the biggest one for me. But I do think, like I said from the start of the year, like, he, to me, is this year's stature hurt. If this team's going to be anything, he's got to be a vital part of that number. And finally getting to see him do that and seeing him actually producing, I'm looking forward to see, is he going to continue this? Is he going to start climbing? Is he going to start playing with that confidence and that attitude now? Because if he does, it can be a scary team, and it's going to be a scary out if you want to keep playing against this team. But I touched on the other side of it as well, and I talked about Gage, and I talked about how much time that he hasn't played and all of this and all of that stuff. And we also talked about in the past in these other weeks, like Lloyd, we brought up last week a lot about, he threw okay because he had this amount of, I guess, runs given up and this and that. But we're like, yeah, but he also threw pretty much 100 pitches in like four
innings,
right? Like, that makes it tough. Whether we really want to say it or not, it makes it tough to play defense behind that. It makes it tough to go back and hit and get in there and try to have energy to hit after that. This outing that he just had, damn that it was 7 innings of a complete ball game and this and that. Like, it's the fact that he did it efficiently this time. And he got guys in and off the field. He moved the ball around the zone. He challenged the zone. He expanded the zone when it was time to expand the zone. 14 strikeouts. I think he threw 100 or maybe a little less than 100 pitches. Like,
98.
That's how you do it. That's how you go out there and challenge it and say, you know what, if I got to do that and for some reason that day with that kind of stuff, you give up the 5 runs in 4 innings or 3 innings, I'm okay with that. Like, the guys playing behind you, they can live with that because they know you at least went out there and challenged dudes. It's tough when it's like start out and it's 2-0 to almost every hitter or 3-1, and whether you're walking them or not, it's like I said, 95, 100 pitches in 4 1/3. It really makes it tough to go week in and week out and play behind guys like that. So to see him go out and do what he did this week, to me, is encouraging because it's like, hey, if I can get that kind of stuff from you going forward, we got a chance. We got a chance because I know Holman is going to do the same thing when he throws behind it, or if they flip it back. I don't really know what the madness is. To me, it doesn't really matter. But I do know those two guys need to be good for you to kind of go somewhere. And they were really good. Now, the one thing we haven't even touched on yet, which I kind of almost don't want to touch on it, because the guy has been so damn good that I don't want to be the one to jinx it. But can I get a round of applause for Griffin Herring?
Again.
Can we get some love for Griffin Herring? Can you throw me the stats again, Lloyd? What is it? Where's he at now?
Find this. Yes. Griffin Herring has allowed just a 1 run in his last 20 innings, and to go along with 1 run in his last 20, 31 strikeouts and just 3 walks. And so what do y'all talk about all the time with to play winning baseball or to get where you want to be? It's like you need 2.5 starters. You got 2.5 starters right now. You got Gage, Jump, Luke Holman, and now this combination of Ackenhausen and Griffin Herring kind of get you almost
Swiss Army knife back there.
Yes. Yeah. And so that's what I'm saying. It feels like you're starting to fill out your roster a little bit. I don't know what you're going to do with Cade Anderson or Thatcher Hurd or Gavin Guidry. Like, those are all questions, but they don't have terrible answers to them. You just want to get the answer right.
Yeah.
But finally, it feels like if you're the coach and we know that Jay, and I'm not saying over managing in a bad way, he tinkers, he's trying to find the best formula he can to make this team a winning baseball team. And now it feels like the answer is the problem has solved itself in the sense where if there's only so much I can do.
Yeah.
Eventually, we have to find 9 guys that can play. Because when you get to the field, like we talked about, like they were almost fighting a war on 2 fronts of, A, we have to win a baseball game. B, am I going to play in this game or not? And C, when I get out there, if I don't perform, am I going to play tomorrow?
Right.
And now once you get 2 of those questions eliminated, now you're just focused on the one thing that you came here to do. That's win a baseball game. So it clears the mind a little bit of not only your manager, but also everybody on your team.
Yeah.
Like, nobody's feelings are getting hurt.
Yeah.
That's not why he was doing it. He was trying to find somebody to perform. And now that it feels like you have that, I know it's one weekend, but you've been starting to see this a little bit throughout while they struggled, that there were some bright sparks coming along, especially Larson. Like, he's done this in multiple weeks now. Milam has never left the lineup. Tommy White is Tommy White. Like, Jared Jones is starting to be a better hitter. It's not, but of course you get the solo shots from him and Travinsky. That's going to happen. Like they come up to lead an inning and they leave the yard. You can't get mad that there's nobody on base because they didn't have anybody to put on base.
Yep.
So you take the runs where you can get them, and they're going to put up those innings where they only put up one run. But there was a spot in the game in Game 3 where LSU went quickly 3 up, 3 down after Ackenhausen just had to grind it out and gives up the run, and then the next inning, after 12 pitches and LSU puts him back on the mound, he goes 3 up, 3 down. Like those type of complimentary baseball where you don't put yourself out the game that's how you win.
I agree. And for me, like I'm thinking about this thing. Let me just pull this up really quick because I know these are numbers that I kind of want to touch on a little bit. So when I think about this pitching staff and I watch where they are and what they're doing and how they're doing it, listen, what we're starting to put together is working, but you're not going to get a complete game and or 7 plus every time from Gage jump. And that's very okay. Like that's understood, right? But when I look at somebody like this and I see, let me just go through the numbers real quick on it. And I see a 3.42 ERA. I see 26 innings, 23 hits, 43 strikeouts, and only 13 walks, and people only hitting 240 against him. When we go through a weekend, and I get it, I understand that you're probably getting him hot. He was probably going to throw it on Sunday. That's a guy to me who has got to grab the ball and be a part of the weekend rotation. He's got to be a part of what's going on the weekend. He's got to be in the number on the weekend. We can't, to me, Cade Anderson is just someone who is going to have to start pitching on the weekend for this team to actually, for the pitching staff to be at its best as well. I think he's someone that can help a lot. I think he's someone that can contribute a lot to what he's doing, and he's a strike thrower. He's somebody who's going to challenge the zone, and I think he's someone who needs to be, because I think if you start giving him the ball in those situations a lot more and people start seeing, well, he's predominantly fastball, but he's still getting dudes out and he's making people uncomfortable, I think it starts to help the rest of your pitching staff as well, because maybe they don't feel like they got to be so fine. Maybe it helps them get out of their funk a little bit. Maybe it helps them say, well, shit, if he's up there just busting the zone, maybe I should go do the same thing. Now, I love that we're getting the Cam Johnsons. I love that we're getting the Aiden Moffats more and more opportunity, because I do think those two guys can be key if you can really get this going. But I got to see Cade Anderson start pitching on the weekend and not be, in a way, kind of like your last resort if you maybe need him on Sunday.
That's what it felt like it was. And we had this conversation like off air where it felt like if there is any, like the way that the lineup is set up now and what we've seen and what we kind of know, that it's Nate Ackenhausen, Griffin Herring, those two are attached at the hip. For Gage Jump, if anybody was going to have to come in, I felt like it was going to be Cade Anderson. It just kind of fell in a wonky spot to not be able to get him in the game. I don't want to say LSU was waving the white flag, but you knew you weren't going to see Griffin Herring on Saturday. Like you knew he was coming in on Sunday. You're down. You obviously want to throw in somebody that you would like think, all right, steady the ship. But Jay, you go into that series, do you want to sweep? Yes. What's the most important thing to do every series? Take 2 of 3. His plan was to take 2 of 3 when you get down like you did Saturday, and obviously you can't predict a comeback like that, but you like to see the fight. And the fellas, if they don't give up one more run, you're right in that you're tied in that game, and that's where people are like, well, why didn't you throw a Griff? You could have won it. Well, you won it on Sunday.
Yeah,
like he has a plan.
If you throw one, then what happens on Saturday?
And you lose
on Sunday. I mean, yeah.
Like you don't want to put him under the gun like that and potentially waste him. But I think a Cade Anderson sighting is going to come, and you don't want to put him in on that game either because of the way that it shaped out. You go, that's what you have Aiden Moffat for. That's what you have Cam Johnson for. If they go in there lights out, you still got a chance to win it. But I didn't burn any of my aces.
Right.
Like proverbially speaking, like in my card game. Like I still got these. I got to keep these so I can stay in the pot.
I just know, just for me. Yeah, I'm no coach. I ain't getting paid to do this. But I know if I got somebody in my pen that's available and ready, that's got 43 punches in 26 innings, he's got to get the ball on the weekend at some point. Like it just has to happen. I don't know how to say it. For me, that's what I would look at. So it'll be interesting.
It's a good problem to have.
It's a great problem to have. But we've always, like I said, it goes to the same thing with the lineup, just like the pitching staff. You're gonna have to start pissing some people off. Not because you're trying to piss people off, but because you're trying to get these guys comfortable, and they're going to be the guys to roll, and they're going to be the guys to do it for you, right? So, like, that's one guy that I have tapped for me, that if we're going to play well, he's got to be a part of this number, and I would like to see him get there. So they got some things to do. They got Auburn coming up this weekend. Now, in my opinion, Auburn coming up this weekend, everybody's probably like, oh, this is perfect. It's another good time to sweep. Think about it from Auburn's side. They are, I mean, like everything but eliminated right now from maybe even making the conference tournament, right? So you're thinking like, oh, this is a great one. This is probably their absolute last weekend to actually make something happen. So all these, if you're in your mind right now, you're screaming sweep, back up. Let's go ahead and get 1, and then let's go ahead and get 2, and then maybe we could talk about 3 at that point, right? But just back up, because it's not like you got them punting already and the season's over. They're not eliminated yet. So there's still some sort of fight in them, probably, right? You may get their absolute best shot this weekend, knowing that we don't have anything. Our back is as much against the wall as possible. Let's just give it our last shot, right? Now, if they were to go into this weekend and get swept and or probably get beat in the series, that's when they're probably out of it. This might be the last weekend that you get the best of them. So, with that being said, is it a good stepping stone for LSU for themselves confidence-wise? Yeah, it's great. But I wouldn't sit here and look at it and say, oh, you got to sweep. That's just goofy. We already said front side in looking into this thing like, hey, if you go, what was it, 12-5? 12-6. 18, you had 15 games left, right? So you had to go, if you lost one every, if you went 10-5, it puts you at 13 wins. So if you went 12-3, right, that would get you to 15 wins, correct? So 12-3. There's still opportunity to do what you want. Obviously, I know you got A&M. I know you got Alabama. And who's the last series? Ole Miss. A&M, Alabama, and Ole Miss. You got those 3 series left. I wouldn't exactly say you need to do it this weekend. You have chances on other teams. You're going to have a tough series against Alabama and all 3 of those series, in my opinion, will be tough series. But you just
matter where you're like, all right, we got this thing figured out. Like you have this little drug called confidence that you can't fake it, and once you get it, it's hard to get rid of it. And if
I agree, but just being in these situations where these things had to happen, like I can remember putting myself in that mindset where it was, hey, we were 11th place out of 12th in the SEC. We got a couple wins. Oh shit, we swept. That was cool. Can we just get a win this next weekend? Like you don't ever get to that thought of Friday night I'm showing up, hey, this is the start of our sweep. It just doesn't work that way. And if you put yourself in that, that's how you overlook very key situations, maybe in the 4th or 5th inning. Very key situations with the big, maybe 2-run go-ahead homer in the 6th that you just don't put as much emphasis on, or you don't focus in on enough because you didn't put enough on just this one game and getting this one win, right? So like if you start thinking that far ahead, you miss the opportunities that give you those sweeping opportunities, if that makes any sense. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, I see it, but I just think that because of where they were and how it was becoming a theme to you are what your record says you are, in a sense, where it becomes, all right, I guess it's the baseball team we are. But to show even a little bit of fight in that Saturday game, it's like, no, we're not going down easy. Like to be able to mount that comeback and come run short, which, I mean, it's still a loss, but to show that these boys are in the fight. And now you get a bottom feeder in Auburn where it's like we can totally turn this thing around. And I don't even think that there's no way that they're going into the game going, oh, we got Auburn, this is easy. Like they're playing every game as if the season's on the line, because it is. They showed the D1 baseball bracket for the SEC tournament. LSU was the last team out. Like you're still fighting for a spot to even, we're not talking about NCAA tournament. We're not talking about going to somebody else's regional. You're talking about going to your own tournament that in a world where you won the national championship last year, and it's happened to teams before. It happened to Mississippi State and to Ole Miss. So LSU would be the 3rd time in 3 years. Expect them to fully hit the bottom of the ocean. Like
you got to be able to pound the zone, get guys on and off the field, and you got to spend more time in the dugout than you do on the field. That's what starts complimentary baseball. That's what starts people starting to play with a little confidence. People starting to play a little quicker because you're not standing and stagnant. You know what I'm saying? Like you're not. It's one thing when you're getting your brains beat in and you're pounding the zone and it's just getting smacked all over the park. Bro, people are running. Maybe they're not the happiest, but like I can deal with that. Everybody can deal with that. But when you get to the ready position, ball. Get to the ready position.
You're playing the game.
Get to the foul ball. Get to the ready position, ball. And then all of a sudden now one's hit. And then this happens at bat after at bat again. Believe it or not, that puts you into a mundane, like very just not ready spot. You get what I'm saying? Like, think about it. If I go to football and I'm every time I go out there, it counts on 6. You think my O-liner is going to be firing out the way they need to be? Or you think at some point they're going to start getting beat off the ball?
Dude, I mean, Jeff Saturday talked about it all the time with Peyton Manning. He's like, would you say fucking hut, brother? We're down here in a 3-point stance, and you're talking to God knows who about what, and we're every day.
That's what fielders are saying when it's ball 1, ball 2. Hey, throw a strike, bro. So something can happen if you throw a strike. Nothing much can happen when you don't throw strikes.
And that's where you get the Jekyll and Hyde of Gage Jump was that. I mean, he throws 7 innings at 98 pitches. He throws 4 1/3 at 102.
Yeah.
Like that. What do you think they were doing all game?
Yep.
Standing around.
Yep.
Like you can't be, and I understand pitchers want to be perfect every pitch, but at some point you just gotta throw one that's hittable, or at least make an attempt at it. You can't play. You don't know what's gonna happen. It's hard to get a hit in baseball.
Yeah.
Especially when you're pumping 95 and you have other pitches that go with it.
Yep.
Like you don't have to throw everything on the black or try to throw a perfect 0-2 curveball that hits somebody. Or I mean, you're still seeing some of the catching woes because they're trying to break it off a little too hard. Like Milazzo should have bodied that one up, but I don't give him any. People still try to blame him for the Florida loss. Like that ball bounced a foot in front of the plate. There's no way to read that spin. There's no way to get a dirt spin off of that or a dirt read off that ball. You're just trying your best to body it up, and you got a body on it, but I have no clue where it went. And so you can't blame a catcher for doing his job, but you can't get 6-holed either.
Yeah.
And so, but that goes to the pitchers trying to maybe do a little too much on the mound because in their mind, they're probably looking at the offense going, I don't know what's going to show up today, but I can't give up a 4 spot. And so now that you start to see, like Jay said, complimentary baseball, all right, I feel a little bit better throwing it over the heart of the plate. Like, let's see what happens. Because not everybody's up there as Charlie Condon. You're not going to get hit that hard. And if you do, you got 7 people behind you. Like, go let them make a play.
To your point, dude, like when I look at it and I go look at the numbers across the league right now, pulling up the numbers across the league, this is how important it is to throw strikes, just to kind of give you something very, very simple. Because it's, a lot of people don't really understand, like, this is really what baseball comes down to. It all comes down to pitching, and more so, it really comes down to starting pitching. When I go across the league right now, the teams with the highest ERA in the league, top 3 teams, they're Arkansas with a 2.95, they're Texas A&M with the 3.57, and they're Tennessee with the 3.98. They have walked probably 130 walks, 118 walks, 114 walks. The rest of the league is 138, 141, 156, 171, 170, 158, 162, 180, 181, 160. They're literally the lowest 3 amount of walks given up this year are the teams with the top 3 ERAs in the league. Guess what? One's in tied for second place. The other one's tied for second place, and the other one's now even higher than that, I believe. Let's go look at it right now. You got Kentucky at 15-3. You got Tennessee at 12-6. On the other side, you got
Arkansas.
You got Arkansas at 14-4, and you got A&M at 13-5. So they occupy numbers 2, 3, and 4 in the league. And the one that's occupying the number 4 in the league, they just beat the team that's been number 1 in the league. And the team that's number 1 in the league has got the hardest schedule the rest of the league. So my point to it is you throw strikes, you give people a chance, you get balls put in play, you keep dudes active, you become a better defensive team, you become a better offensive team, and it's a fact. That's not just me figuring out that, it just happened to work out this week. I didn't even know who was up there. I didn't even know that they would literally be, the top 3 teams would be literally the ones that have not thrown have given up the least amount of walks. But that's what it is. It's a thing. So understanding that, I think if guys can really start understanding that and they can really start just thinking in terms of that, in the sense of, let me start pounding the strike zone and really start challenging hitters, you'd be wildly surprised at how successful you can be on the mound, not having to be perfect, not having to be pinpoint on the corner, not having to do everything just so right. You know what I mean? Like, you can make your mistakes. Yeah, be okay with making your mistakes. I won't say over the plate, but like in the zone. Because when I start challenging you in the zone early, that's when I can start expanding the zone late. And I think that's maybe for whatever reason that was kind of missed early in the season for the squad. I think if they can really start doing that, which I think Gage Jump was the one that set the tone of that on Friday night. If they can really start doing that, you're going to continue to see a much better team and a much different team this second half of the season than what we saw in the first half of it.
Yeah, because I mean, what's the easiest thing to do in baseball? Like, if you tell me I can go up there and watch 4 pitches and get on base, I'll sign up for that every time. Like, I know these guys it's not that simple. And I was explaining this to somebody that asked me about the LSU baseball. A lot of people want to talk about it, regardless, good, bad, or indifferent. But I was like, baseball is baseball's not a complicated game. It's a hard game.
Yeah.
Like there's a very formulaic system that you can use that you could say pitching, defense, and timely hitting. Like if you do all 3 of those, you're probably going to win. And if LSU, as they were, walking all those dudes and getting behind in counts, and now you have first and second 2-0, now you have to throw a strike. Well, guess who else knows that? Everybody in the ballpark. And so I'm going to close my eyes and swing. And I'm probably going to hit in the gap.
And if you've given up 2 free passes before, it only takes one good swing, 1 bad bounce to give up runs, right? As opposed to 2, to 3, to 4. He only needs 1 now, right? So that's the part of it right there.
Yeah, you don't have – rarely is there an inning where LSU is just – they're scratching one across, like when they're on defense. They're giving up the crooked numbers, and that's a byproduct of putting people on base for free and making some errors defensively that have happened in the infield. Milam, I think, made his first error of the year behind the bag, tried to backhand one, got a bad hop. But you saw Broswell, and I'm not knocking on him, but you saw Broswell get out of jail free card, ground ball right at him, candy, and misplays it and scores a run. So those type of things, like when Milazzo lets a ball by him, keeps the inning going, they score 2 because they moved up 90 feet. So those type of things are things that you would hope would be ironed out by now. They still kind of pop up during games, but now offensively you're good enough to overcome 1 or 2 mistakes. They're going to happen, but they can't happen in key moments. Now that LSU is playing, like we said, complimentary baseball, where the pitcher doesn't have to look over and like, we can get anything today, because that's what's been happening to Holman. They haven't been able to help him on offense at all, ever. He's gotten no run support, so he has to go out there. He's like, I have to go dominate. And it ups the pitch count, and you saw the way he has to pitch, because he doesn't have gauge jump stuff.
Right.
Like, it's just, that is what it is. He doesn't have 96 in the chamber. He has to pitch backwards and pitch fine, and he can pitch throw it, he pitch in any count. But when those aren't getting called strikes, and that's happened to him a couple times this year, that's when you start getting some walks, and you start getting bigger innings, and then you see him get yanked in the 4th.
Yeah.
And now you're down 5-1, and you're like, okay, well, there goes that was our lead. That's our big dog. That was our lead. That's our ace.
Yeah.
Who you going to turn to?
Yeah.
And Jay said, well, I'm not throwing out somebody that can help us win on Sunday. I'm going to go see what Aiden Moffitt's got, because he's looked good in the midweek.
Yeah.
When I put him in games where LSU might be out of it, he's still up there pumping 99, 100 for strikes. So go see what we got. Let's see if we can find a little magic. Didn't quite happen, but at least you know that you got 2 things that look real good with, or I'd say even 2.5. Like I said, gauge jump, if he can be 80% of that, throw strikes, get strikeouts, move the game along, and then Luke Coleman go back to being, that's probably his second. I mean, if you can count your bad outings on one hand, you're having a good year.
Yeah.
And so if you have those 2 guys and this combination of Nate Ackenhausen and Griffin Herring, you feel good going into every weekend series.
I'm very, very interested to see moving forward. Like, so first off, we don't know how long he's out for. We don't know the severity of the injury or where it's at right now, but obviously I think Brady Neal's going to miss maybe a little bit of time dealing with the shoulder injury that he has. You're going to have to put Milazzo and obviously Travinsky too, so I don't really know how he's going to go about doing so, but Milazzo's going to play a little bit more now, or a lot more, however it goes. With that being the case, he's a commanding presence behind the plate, and we all know he's a great defensive catcher. I'm interested to see how much is he, or if even at all, is he going to change how these pitchers actually, how they throw? Is his presence going to be able to demand them to be able to pound the strike zone and go at the strike zone? And do they start doing that more with a higher rate now? Because whether people believe it or not, I don't know, I'm not insinuating anything, I'm not in the locker room, I don't have the answers to it. But I don't know how much how much the pitching staff may love throwing to Brady Neal. I don't know the answer to that. I know some guys last year loved throwing to Milazzo, and that was part of the reason why he was able to get back on the field and play as much as he did the back end of last year. But what's going to happen if he gets in there and they love throwing to him, and all of a sudden these guys are pounding the zone? And all of a sudden, these guys are living in the zone, right? Unfortunate injuries open up opportunities for others. This may be an opportunity that I don't know. I'm not in the clubhouse. I don't have these conversations with them. But this may be something just to look for in the sense of when Milazzo's back there, are we more efficient on the mound as a staff and as a group?
I think, and this is, like you said, it's not a slight towards Neal. It's more of a compliment to Milazzo. He's been there for what? This is his 5th year, 6th year? And he's played catcher. He's played with a lot of these guys. He was Skeen's catcher all of last year. There's a reason that he wanted him back there. And when you look at, we know Milazzo. We've met him, interviewed him, know him off the field.
Yeah.
He's a good dude. He's somebody that makes it easy to pitch. Like whether that be his catching style, but I would say his attitude and leadership. Like he knows when to calm guys down, when to hype guys up. Like he has a great feel for the game. And when you have a battery mate like that back there that you know is going to be consistent and he's always going to give you something that you need to hear at the right time, like that goes a long way for a pitcher to be like, all right, I trust who I'm throwing to. I trust what numbers he's putting down there, whether it's pitch calm or not. Like I know that this guy, we're on the same page, and his offense hasn't been nearly what it used to be. Like he's not an automatic out anymore. He 1 for 4, but scored 2 runs and got a single. Like he's still
since he got back on the field last year, he's swung it astronomically better than what he did early on in his career.
Yeah,
way better.
That's what I'm saying. If you'd have told me he'd bat 285 and be your everyday catcher, I think everybody would have signed up for that. I understand the Brady Neal, I want his offense in the lineup. I get that because Milazzo's not going to leave the part.
I'm not sure anybody, if that would have been Milazzo from day one that he started, I'm not really sure anybody else would have gotten on the field in the sense of being able to steal or take innings away from him, honestly. Let's just be honest. He's that good of a catcher. He's that good behind the plate. He's that good at catch and throw. He's that good commanding a staff. So if he was hitting 285 from the day he stepped on campus, I'm not really sure how many innings he would have relinquished to anyone else because you need those type of guys.
And the more I think about it, the pitching has gotten incrementally better whenever they've stopped the Ferris wheel of Travinski, Neal, Milazzo, and you never knew who you were going to get because Jay was trying to find offense, and it's okay, let's put Travinski at catcher, Brady Neal, you go to right, and then Milam, you can play second, and then we'll DH Josh Pearson. He was just trying to find spots for guys because there wasn't enough bop in the lineup. But now the way that it's settled in, I think Milazzo can handle himself fine at the dish. And when you have somebody like that, like I said, a veteran guy that plays that position that's with the guys every day, I don't want to say it falls on deaf ears, but you want somebody that's actually going to war with you. It's different being in the dugout than it is on the field. Now you're in the spot where what he says matters. He's out there with us every day. I know that it's, I don't have to say that you don't listen to him, but it's different when you're on the field and you see him in the muck and he's coming to talk to you on the mound in the gear and you're like, I needed to hear these words now, not when I get in the dugout.
Right.
And you saw Milazzo's reaction at the end of the game to Griffin Herring. He was absolutely fired the fuck up because he knew what it meant. And that's another thing that you can't really put a price on because Milazzo didn't come back to play losing baseball and miss the tournament. He could have walked into the sunset with the ring and said, thank y'all, peace, I'm done with LSU baseball, good luck next year. He said, nah, sign me up for the next war, I want to do this again. And now he's in the spot to be able to make a difference. And I think beyond what the numbers are, it's just personality. You need somebody like that loosens everybody up but knows when to tighten up at the right times. And he's like a coach on the field, it really is. And that's what you want from a catcher.
So, now, it's crazy to me. So, I think this is the second week in a row you got top 4 spots in the polls are all occupied by SEC teams. It's pretty impressive, right? And now I'm going to look around the league, and so this past weekend you had A&M that went to Bama. A&M were able to take 2 games right now. Look, I don't know if y'all have been looking at A&M play at all right now, but that is they're a problem. I'm just going to be honest with you right now. That offense can swing the shit out of it. They do a really good job pitching it. They play good defense behind them. I think over the last 6 SEC games, they've scored 73, 75 runs. You heard me. That was no mistake. That was not midweek added in there. The last 6 SEC games, they've scored close to or at 75 runs. That's impressive, right? So they're humming right now. They're the number 1 team in the country. They're doing what they're doing. You also had Florida went to Vandy and got beat in that series. So Vandy, after getting shellacked at A&M the weekend before, came back at home against a talented Florida team, but let's be honest, pretty much underperforming Florida team this year so far. They won that series. Florida's in a tough spot right now. They're going to have to they're going to have to pick themselves off the mat right now and actually start going if they really want to go. It's been pretty much the Jack Caglione show. They've had a couple other guys swing it well, but the pitching staff hasn't shown up at all. They're one of their probably bottom 3 in the league pitching it right now. They're struggling. They're reeling a little bit right now, and that's where they are. Then you had Ole Miss that went to Georgia, and they got beat 2 out of 3. Listen, Georgia is literally going to try to bludgeon you until you don't want to play them anymore.
Mercy.
They're not going to outpitch you. They're not terrible on the mound, but they can swing the life out of it. And they are doing that. I think they're second in the league behind Tennessee with the way they're swinging it this year. And, oh, by the way, they got one dude who is I don't think he's come back to earth since he's grabbed the college bat yet. He's been unbelievable, and that's obviously Condon, which is probably still your leading player of the year candidate right now. I mean, you really only got Caglione. You really only got probably Hagen Smith. That's probably your three guys.
Those are the 3.
That's your 3, right? I would say Caglione's probably still. I mean, I would say Condon's probably still at the top. So when you play Georgia, you better outscore them, because if you don't, they're going to put up crooked numbers on you in a hurry. Then you had probably the series of the weekend, which was Tennessee went to Kentucky, and surprisingly, I think for some people, Tennessee took 2 out of 3 from them. Now, Sunday's game was, capped off or put up with an exclamation point with their second baseman Christian Moore hitting 3 homers in that game. But that team was another team that swings the life out of it. They are pacing the league and hitting, and I would imagine, especially with scoring 13 on Sunday, that probably didn't change at all. Kentucky is the one that's to look out for. Kentucky is the one that is 14-1 going into the weekend. Found themselves at home against Tennessee. They lost this series. Now, if you get a chance, go check out the rest of that schedule. It ain't pretty for them. They have a very tough schedule. Now, they get some of these tougher ones at home, but I'm not convinced that 14-1 Kentucky team that we've seen up until this past weekend is exactly who you'll be getting going forward. I think they're going to be kind of brought back to earth a little bit, and we'll see as this thing kind of unfolds a little bit, but that's where they are on that. Tennessee's another one that's a scary one. And if I'm being completely honest, this is why Tennessee's scary, because when you knock on the door enough, sooner or later you find a way to break through, right? And 40-plus win seasons for what is it, 3 years in a row going into this season? Sooner or later you start finding a way to win in those the spots you couldn't get over. The steps that you could never climb before, you start finding a way to get on top of those steps and climb them. That's why they're starting to be a scary team to me. Then you had that Auburn team that's coming in here. They got swept at Mississippi State. Mississippi State is really the ones that's kind of sneaky. They're going under the radar and no one's noticing them, but they're now over 500 in SEC play, and they are, second or third in the SEC West right now. Just knocking on the door. Very, very, very quietly doing what they're doing right now. Auburn is, if LSU can take care of business and do what they need to do this weekend, they're pretty much out the race.
If you don't beat yourselves against Auburn, you should have a good chance of winning 2 of 3, if not looking at it. I know we said that going to Missouri. Missouri's better than what – they're not great, but they're better than this Auburn team. And Missouri has a sneaky way of staying in baseball games. They've taken one for some pretty good teams and have kept the majority of the games that they've played close. Auburn is reeling right now, and it's just not in a great spot. If you see that referee's looking him in the eye and say, where are you? If they might answer the question right, but you still got to fight after that. Yeah. And LSU could deliver the knockout blow where knock one team out that could have been you. And put yourself back in the fight.
Honest, here's the thing. Auburn, they don't scare me. That's not fair for me to say scares me. But they got a couple guys that are some real bats. There's some real players on that offensive side. And if you make a couple mistakes or you don't really bear down, they can hurt you. They got the McMurray kid. They got the Irish kid as a catcher. There's another. I think the shortstop's really, really good offensively. Some of those guys run a little bit. They can run into and put up some runs on you. That could cause a problem for you, especially if you give away free passes. So they're the one team where I'm like, all right, you catch them this week. This is their last-ditch opportunity to do something on the year. I just hope they don't actually take up those chances to do it and actually get it done. So, but we'll keep going through the league, right? And you had Arkansas, who went on the road to South Carolina and took that series. Now, Arkansas has been in literally every pitching category that there is, all world.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. They have the best pitching staff in the league, probably maybe the best pitching staff in the country. Where they're struggling is they don't swing it very well at all. And they especially don't swing it very well on the road. I'm not sure that that's the team that's going to keep going forward, that's going to keep doing something special. And you catch them on the back half of the year where they're not swinging it well, you may be able to beat them. Obviously, LSU doesn't have to play them again right now. You may not see them until maybe the tournament and or maybe a super and or maybe beyond that, right? But that's a scary team because they pitch it so well. I'm just not sure that the bats will keep doing what they need to do to get them where they need to be. And now LSU obviously getting its first series win on the year. Hard for me to believe that you'd see LSU with 1 to 2 to maybe only 3 series win on the season. This could be the start of kind of getting that snowball rolling for them. Lloyd, when you think about it, what team in the league kind of do you think scares you and or you think is pacing the league? And not just from a record standpoint, but what you see in these teams.
The thing that even just looking at the records, I don't even have to watch the games. This is what gives me hope for LSU baseball is that every SEC team, when they're in SEC play, they're absolutely eating themselves. Like every game, like you're jockeying in position. There's the 1 or 2 outliers, but if you're in that group between 2 and 10, like you're not going to sweep everybody and you're not going to get swept. Like it is, they're literally eating themselves and giving LSU a chance to stay in the fight, which is what I love to see. But you hit the team that I think like Kentucky. I know everybody is like waiting for the other foot to drop, but you don't play this well for this long. I'm interested to see what happens when they get into the meat of the schedule. It's almost the reverse of what LSU had to do, where you had all of your big games early. Kentucky's about to run into a part of the schedule where, all right, let's see if you're for real. But Tennessee is the one that everybody wants to write off because of their, I don't want to say woes, but whenever they get to the tournament, they haven't had great success.
Because what you've seen, yeah.
Yeah, they're great in the regular season. Prove it to me in the playoffs. But it feels like Tennessee is absolutely tracking for that. I don't want to play them 3 games.
And they
because Arkansas, I don't feel bad in the 3-game set.
Yeah.
All right, Hagen Smith, I'll get you 1-0. That's fine. I'll go to war with you to win 2 games in a row.
Yeah.
That's all you got to do. Like Hagen Smith's out the equation. That's what everybody had to do. I mean, you put it in the Paul Skeens conversation. Like, look, boys. I mean, you had the Alabama baseball coach literally betting against his own team because like we ain't winning.
Right.
And scratched their ace because he's like, we definitely ain't winning. And so if that's what you're going into, everybody was going into LSU saying, all right, let's win the next 2 because we ain't beating him. And even when you got to Omaha, that's how whenever you had to burn Paul Skeens and you had to win the Wake Forest game, everybody still started saying, well, LSU's gettable now. Like, so when you have a guy like that, you almost have to take that out of the equation and be like, all right, you're down 0-1. If you can scratch one across and get a win, great. But if you play Arkansas, they don't scare me nearly as much as the Tennessee team who swings it the way that they do, and they're just a complete baseball team.
Yeah,
so,
they just play baseball. They got some guys on the mound that literally will just
sneaky.
So, like, there's names on that roster and on that team that have just been around for a while.
That Jay Johnson would love to have.
They've been a part of these 40-plus win teams that haven't done it. So for me to sit here and say I think, well, they just hadn't done it, those are usually the ones that start finding a way, right? Because they've been through all of those woes. They've been through all of those lows.
Our time.
They've struggled, right? It's not like they just keep turning them over and it's 40-win team, and it's all different faces. It's not Kentucky basketball, right?
Right.
Like that's not what we're looking at here.
Or
We're not
LSU
looking
baseball.
at the freshmen coming in and getting drafted and they're out. You're looking at a team that's got a lot of those guys that have been there for 2 and 3 years. And so when they start rolling like this, you're like, this could be different this year, right? That's the team right now for me. That's one that I'm like.
But that's what you get with baseball teams. Like you have to almost wait your turn in a sense. Like you very rarely do you show up. Like Dylan Cruz is a freshman. Like you don't just show up and win a natty.
Trey Morgan, all those guys.
Your national champion. You and Mikey's national championship team.
Yeah.
Like
we had been here,
right? Mikey
was new into it.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Mikey, you get your one.
Yeah.
And then look what he had to do after.
We took the rocks people's elbow out freshman year.
Yeah.
We took the big leg drop out. Like we took all of that stuff. So that's part of it, you know. Like you gotta go through those ugly parts.
And that's where Tennessee is. And those are the teams that usually, whenever it does come time for regional, super regional Omaha, they don't panic. It's like I've seen that. I've been in this spot before. Yep. I've seen this. And the other sneaky that I don't think many people are believing it's true, but it's happening is Texas A&M.
At this point, I don't know how you look against them right now.
Well, I think it's just because of the name.
The lineup has been goofy this year. They've already got two dudes.
Your fault.
They got two dudes in there. It ain't my fault. It's that Nolan Kane guy. It's his fault. Nolan Kane, Michael Early, it's y'all fault. I know what's going on over there.
Something in the water.
They got two dudes in the top 5 in the nation. The nation and homers hit already this year. They're both major league talent, like gonna be on the big league field at some point. Those guys are really good. They've got a really good freshman there. They got another guy named Jackson Appel who's swinging the mess out of it as well. They're pitching it. They got a bullpen. They're deep. They play decent defense behind it. They're rolling. And watching them play a little bit this weekend, it seems like a team who isn't satisfied with what they've done so far, if that makes any sense. Are they having fun? Yeah, it's very obvious to tell when you watch them play they're having fun. But they don't seem to be like, I can't believe we're doing
this. A Cinderella.
They seem to. We expected this, bro, and we're going to celebrate our good. But it's not like oh my God, I can't believe we're doing this.
Yeah, and if we lose one, it might all come crumbling down. And your boy Nolan we talked with him in Hoover last year.
Yeah.
And you could tell that something was in the water over there. He's like, oh, we're not very good. Don't worry about us. Like, you're lying straight to my face. I'm watching y'all play right now.
Just remember, a lot of those people didn't think he should stay as the recruiting coordinator here. They thought we were a little biased and we just wanted our boy because we know him. Look what our boy's doing over there.
Mm-hmm.
Seems like he knows what he's doing when it comes to picking and finding players, and they're developing the shit out of players, and they're making players pretty good, seems like.
Yeah, and so, but
I would imagine that Jay is not enjoying him being at A&M and recruiting.
Go get him. Bring him home. If you love him,
that's
let him
what
leave.
I would imagine.
If he returns, so be it. But I mean, we saw it last year with A&M whenever we were just like kind of talking to him and watching in Hoover, and they got hot in Hoover.
Yeah.
And we were like, they're better than.
That's right. That's when they started turning around really last year.
That's what I'm saying. This has been a process, like a plan in the making.
Mm-hmm.
The light bulb kind of went off at the end of the year, and then so I've kind of been keeping them at arm's length because what I saw, I was like, they're not as bad as they want you to think they are. They're just like, oh, we'll come into the tournament. We don't have the arms, we don't have the hitting. We're far away. It's like, y'all are playing some pretty good teams and beating them right now.
And if you don't really remember it last year, they kind of got eliminated on some fluky shit last year, right? They went to Stanford, they lost to Stanford, and I think it was the Supers last year on a ball that got lost in the twilight of the lights at Stanford. Like they kind of lost some fluky shit last year, so they're trouble. Those are the two teams to me right now, Tennessee. Texas A&M that you got to watch out for. They're trouble. They're very, very good ball clubs.
Arkansas, obviously, and Kentucky would be the surprise of the year if they're able to keep this thing
Kentucky,
going.
This is why I look at Kentucky.
But saw how.
No, that's what I think about Kentucky. Look, Kentucky, what they're doing is great. I don't think they're a small ball team. I think they play baseball, right? They play complete baseball. They don't really have any top end guys who are sitting there with 15 to 20 or 20 or more homers, or guys that are literally doing it with 380 plus and hitting for power as well. They're not doing that. They don't have any pitchers that got double the amount of strikeouts of innings thrown or anything, but they're all mid threes or low 3 ERA, and they got some guys in the back end of the bullpen that literally just shut games down and they go and do what they do. They play good defense. They're leading the league in steals probably still. So they play complete baseball. But they don't have anybody that's just like top end doing it to them. And when I think about Kentucky, I'm like, well, if they run into a team who has, I'm not going to sit here and say a Paul Skeens. Nobody's got really a Paul Skeens. The closest you got in college baseball this year is Hagen Smith. But if they have someone who's a true ace, a legit ace, that faces them, and then they have someone after that who goes out there and is hot and throwing well, do they have enough top end talent to overcome that? Last year, let's be honest, 2 games in a Super against LSU, they weren't even in it. They didn't have it. And I think that they're more built like that than they are to contend with like a Texas A&M, where you just might run into a Braden Montgomery who might put up 2 homers and 6 RBIs on you in one day, even though no one else is doing anything, right? So that's how I look at that team. And we already talked about Arkansas, where I'm not sure they're able to hit it the way they're able to pitch it. Now, when you pitch it like that, you just don't have to do as much. That's just the facts of it. Just the facts.
Yeah.
Right? But
if you're that plus in one category,
what happens if I'm able to get, and look, you may not be able to get them out of what is it, Baum Hemingway? Well, I don't even remember the name of the stadium. Their stadium. You may not be able
Hoover.
to get them. You may not be able to get them out of their stadium until it's after the Super. So like they may easily find their way into Omaha. I'm just not sure that especially once they're out of that stadium, that just the pitching is going to be enough, because just the pitching, you can't score runs on defense. You just don't. I'm pretty sure. In the history of the game, you can never win by just pitching it. You got to at least do something. They haven't done it yet. I'm not sure that they got all of that yet. And that's kind of where I'm at when I look at them. But when I look around the league, that's where it's at. And I think the two teams you got to look out for right now, even though I think A&M's kind of been doing it pretty much all year. So I guess you can say technically Tennessee has to. They just have more losses in conference, if you will. But those are the two teams that I'm like, I don't really want to see them right now. Unfortunately for LSU, you're going to have to see one of them at least. Before you even get to the tournament, you got to see at least one of them. But those are the teams I don't really want to face right now. I'd like to say, let's just go ahead and get them out of here. I don't want to see them.
Do you think that if LSU is to get into Hoover, that what would you say for them to – would that be enough to get into a regional, or would they have to make some sort of a run? Because you saw how Jay managed Hoover last year, where it was pretty much let's get 2 games and let's get out of here. They weren't trying to be ultra competitive, and that you saw they pulled Skeens after like 4 1/3, 5 innings, where it was – not as, I guess, taxing as it would be for a normal game. So I'm interested to see if LSU has to put anything up on the board.
They're in a completely different spot this year. I think throughout the rest of this regular season schedule, and I think once they get to Hoover, that's when it's legit time. Like all of this, for me, it should be in their eyes, all of this is playoff baseball. Mm-hmm. Like you're going to have to play from here on through, because – who knows what you're able to win? And let's just say you go and win. Let's just say hypothetically you go and win every series through the rest of the season. If you go and dominate and you do what you need to do in Hoover, could that get you to a regional berth? Like hosting a regional berth? Possibly, right? And that's what you're looking for. So even if you are hot as a firecracker all the way through the rest of the year, there's still something to play for once you get to Hoover in a sense. LSU really had nothing to truly play for when they were there last year. Now, did they go into those games saying, we don't care, we don't want to win? No, but what was most important is that guys got work, guys were active, and that guys got out of there healthy. That's what was most important for them last year. That ain't what's most important this year. They have to go try to put themselves in the best situation possible, but that started last weekend in the sense of every single game and series that we have from here on out, we need to try our damnedest to win. And it's not like they didn't before. They did before. I'm not saying that they didn't before. But you are at a spot in the season where mathematically, that's when it starts to count and it starts to matter. And we need to win.
Have a guest.
Who's the guest?
The host has decided to pop into the show. Michael.
Who's in here now?
Give me 1 second to get you queued up here, buddy. And there he is. Look at the big fella. Let's get this quality up.
Wow, there he is.
Let's get the quality
live and direct.
Hey,
there he is. What's up, sir?
How we doing?
Good.
Is the connection there? Are we working?
Yeah, you're good.
We're cooking. How you living over there?
Yeah, I see. We're living. Y'all know John Randall?
The
Remember that
defensive
name?
tackle?
Was his face still painted?
Yeah. Me and John going to get dinner tonight. We got me and John going to a steakhouse tonight.
Hey, tell him when y'all go tonight. Tell him to do his sack celebration. It was pretty impressive. Yeah, he had a nice one.
Hey, he's got some funny ass stories, bro. He is funny.
That's great. I love that.
How we doing?
We're good.
Good.
How's the hosting going? Hope y'all are surviving. That's good.
Come on, cuz. You know how we do this thing,
It's
man.
in our first rodeo.
Yeah, we just put that thing in drive and
Look, I'll be honest, I haven't listened to it today, so I don't know what y'all been talking about, but I'm ready. I'm ready to jump in the convo.
We just jumped around the league a little bit, man. We just talked about 2 teams or who in the league right now would scare you going forward. Obviously, what we said, I'm sure you're probably going to say one of them, and they're still on LSU's schedule, but we just talked about some teams. If you got some ideas of some teams that going forward you think in this league, because right now I think it's for the second week in a row, the top 4 teams in the polls are all SEC teams. So we're like, well, who scares you going forward? Who do you think has a chance to really do some damage going forward?
Who'd y'all say right now?
So we have pretty much A&M and Tennessee. The two we think that are on the outside looking in obviously have talent. Obviously, they're good teams. We just don't think that they have everything, or would be Arkansas and Kentucky.
Yeah, so I think Kentucky. They showed me a little bit this weekend. They lost a series to Tennessee, but they scored with Tennessee. They kept the game kind of tight. They won one of the games, so they kind of showed me a little bit more there. I think honestly, the two top teams in the SEC are as A&M and Tennessee. But I don't think Arkansas is far off. I think their pitching staff's real, dude. Like I really do. Like I know they don't score a ton of runs.
Pitching staff's as real as
I
it
think
gets.
pitching wise, was that?
I said their pitching staff is as real as it gets. That's completely honest. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they've done everything that you want them to be able to do on the mound, and like I think they're as dumb as you can be. So with that and defensively, I think they keep themselves in it. It's hard for me I'm not sold on Kentucky. Kentucky's got 15. They're 15-3 in conference. I'm still not sold on them. I think you're going to see who they are towards the end of the season, going into the postseason. And I think A&M though. I think A&M is probably the most complete team, top to bottom. I think they are the team that I would be nervous about moving forward.
Mikey,
We can play them in a few weeks.
Yeah, we'll find it. Well, hopefully LSU's still in the fight, and that's what I wanted to get some of your thoughts on, is because obviously LSU guy, you didn't get a chance to give your thoughts on the weekend, so I wanted to see what you saw, what you liked, what you didn't like. LSU obviously taking off 2 of 3 on Friday and Sunday, and leaves Missouri with their first SEC series win. So I wanted to see what you liked, what you didn't like. Give us your thoughts.
Yeah. Honestly, winning your first series, I think is the big thing, right? Like you finally got that, the hump off your back. You finally can exhale and say, okay, we won a series. I think they should have swept, to be honest with you. I think that that Saturday game was a lot of the same stuff. You watch Friday, and you look at them, and you're like, all right, they played a complete game. They turned on, rolled them, but they're in front from the beginning. They did everything that you wanted to do. Gage Jump had an unbelievable outing, and you're like, all right, that's good baseball. Timely hitting, homers, the whole deal. Then you go into Saturday, and it's the opposite. Errors, walking guys, self-inflicted wounds, getting down 7-1, putting yourself in a position where it's really hard to come back. Now, they came back and made it a game at the end, and, I think that game is one they look back and say we should have won that game. They shouldn't have scored 7 runs. 6 of those 7 runs they scored were with 2 outs for Missouri. The other one was a solo home that ended up being the difference in the game in the 8th inning. So that game I think they should have won. And then they flipped it on Sunday, and it was tight early on, and they did all the things that they needed to do to win. Timely hitting, clutch 2-out hitting. Ashton Larson, I think, has put himself in a position where I think he has made that lineup stronger at the top. Get that 2-hole. That's my guy, dude. He's been doing it.
Hey, look, I was literally going to go to because I was going to say, look, I've purposely not brought the kid up much.
We had a timer on to see whether you were going to mention him.
I knew you were coming with it right now. So I want you to just kind of give your thoughts.
Dude.
Yeah, I want you to give your thoughts on what he's done so far and how he's helping this team and what's he bringing to the squad right now.
Man, so listen, I think one of the biggest compliments that Pearson gave about Ashton Larson on the show last week was he is a freshman and he acts like a freshman. And I don't mean acts like a freshman on the field. I mean, he respects the veterans. He respects the upperclassmen. He understands his role, and he's just pumped to be there, right? He knows how good he is, and he's just super pumped to be there. And, like, to me, that's important. As a freshman, you just want to be able to, hey, I want to contribute. I can't think that I'm somebody that I'm not. And he's carried that over into the game, right? Competitive at-bats. He's like 0-2, 1-2. He's fighting off pitches, 6, 7 pitch at-bats. He's drawing walks. In this weekend, he had 8 straight appearances that he got on reached base. Like, as a freshman, that's really hard to do. He gets some hits. He's doing everything he needs to do to continue to put pressure on the defense. And then finally comes up with the big homer at the end of the game on Sunday. And so for me, like the professional at bats and the way he competes and the way he kind of moves around in the outfield and like just the demeanor he has, that's what I've been super impressed about. He's not acting like a freshman, man. He's putting together some really, really good at bats.
Hey, so in your opinion, with where they are right now, and then obviously the remaining schedule that they have left, obviously they got A&M still on the schedule. They got Ole Miss, who just they just lost the series at Georgia this weekend. But then they also have who's the last one on the schedule as well?
For LSU?
Yeah.
Ole Miss.
But who's right before them?
A&M.
Somebody else, and then Ole Miss.
So you got
Alabama.
Auburn this
No,
weekend.
Alabama. So with you got A&M, Alabama, and then Ole Miss, right? In your mind, knowing that that's what they have left this year, is this Auburn series one you need to sweep in? Because I just got to imagine you're going to catch an L somewhere. I'm not saying a series L. Like, you're going to catch an L somewhere over the rest of that remaining 9. Do you think that this is a must-sweep series?
100%. I thought this past weekend was a must sweep.
Well, then what the shit? The season's over then. The season's over.
Turn the TV off.
No. Listen, this is an absolute must sweep. Like, you going into these next 2 weekends, I thought that LSU had to go 5-1 over these next 6 SEC games. You have to sweep one of these 2 teams to put yourself in a position to say, because listen, if you just said, all right, we're going to win the last 5 series of the year, you put yourself at 13-17 for the year, right? That put yourself, you have to go and win some games in the tournament to, get into the postseason. If you go 5-1 and you end up winning the rest of the series, you put yourself at 14-16, and I think that kind of gives you a little bit more leeway to get an at-large bid. So
are you saying they can't sweep Bama or Ole Miss?
I'm not saying they can't. I'm just saying
this is your best opportunity.
I'm not going to guarantee a sweep there. I think this weekend against Auburn has to be a sweep if you want to put yourself in a position to get to the 14-16 or 15-15 mark. If you don't sweep, it's going to be very hard to sweep the other teams ahead of you just because they're better talent-wise or they're better, they've
having a better season.
Played better up to this point.
Well, then let me ask you this question. Yeah. If you're coaching it and this is how you're looking at it, or if you're Jay, do you tell the team we need 5-1 over these next 2 weeks? Or do you or you kind of preach more of the same stuff you've been saying, but when we close the door and it's just the coaches, we're like, hey, we got to get it here because I don't know if we can get it down here, so we need it here. Like, how do you go about that, Jay?
I think that's a behind the scenes conversation with the coaching staff. I don't think you tell the players, hey, we have to win these games, because if you don't, then all of a sudden they just check out mentally. I think you tell the coaching staff behind closed doors, hey, we've got to win these games because I don't see it. Now, look, anything can happen. Things can change. Maybe this series win against Missouri puts them in a position where they feel a lot more confident about how they're playing baseball, and they end up playing the way that everybody anticipated them playing when the season started. But I don't think you tell the team, hey, you got to sweep Auburn or the season's over. You got to go 5-1 over these next 2 series. I think that's an internal conversation. But I think the players understand it. Like, you're playing Auburn, who's 2-15 in conference. If you go and do the things you need to do at home and you take care of business, you absolutely should win all 3 games. You ask those guys, should you have won all 3 games against Missouri? Yeah, you should have. But you did things on Saturday that you've been doing all year that caused you to lose the game against a team that is not anywhere near you talent-wise. So you can't do those things at home this weekend against Auburn. I think it's a one-game deal, one game at a time deal, the cliche thing. But I think if you're a fan or if you're the coaching staff, you'd feel a lot more comfortable if they go 5-1 over these 2 series as opposed to 4-2.
Now I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't think they need to sweep yet, because I do think, you're catching Auburn right now at a spot where this is by far their last shot. There's not even a question about it. If you want to have a chance to play past 56-game schedule, you got to start winning this weekend. This is the last time that they're going to catch anybody in that spot. So I think you do get Auburn's best shot. So what I do think, though, is let's just say if you're able to sweep this weekend, I think there's a super high possibility they're going to catch another sweep somewhere else in those 9 games. I think they can clip an Ole Miss like that. I think they can clip an Auburn like that. In Alabama like that if they're able to do it this weekend. But I don't think if they were able to do it this weekend that let's just say they can't go win the rest of the series, and maybe you're not a guaranteed, but you go out and put a very good performance in the SEC tournament, and then that's when you could really look like the team doing that.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I mean, I'm not. Do I think if they don't sweep this weekend that it's doomsday and they're not going to be able to make a run? I don't think that. I think that if they go and they sweep this weekend, they take the momentum from last weekend into this weekend, they end up somehow finding a way to win all 3 games. Now you put yourself in a position where you're 8 and 13, right? Are they 5 and 13 right now? Yeah, so you'd be 8 and 13 in conference though, with 3 series left, right? And now Alabama is a really good team, right? They're a lot better, I think, than I even thought they would be coming into here after losing all those guys in the portal. They lost their shortstop to Florida. They lost their top pitcher to LSU. They lost one of their other guys that they counted on to LSU, and he's in the bullpen. But they're a lot better than I thought that they were going to be. And so I don't know if you can sweep them. Maybe, at the end of the year, maybe they fall off a cliff. I think at the end of the year, though, Ole Miss is the other team that is a sweepable series, but it's LSU Ole Miss at home, and Bianco always seems to figure out a way to win 1 or 2 games when he plays LSU. So I don't think it's the end of the season if they go 2-1 this weekend. I just think it's their best opportunity to put themselves back in a position to where, okay, everything that we wanted at the beginning of the season is still there.
Yeah, don't look now. But
well, not everything, because I'm sure you wanted to win the conference. That's not going to happen either.
you win the tournament.
No, you're right. Not everything, right? Winning the SEC, but like putting yourself in a position to make a postseason run is still on the table without having to go out and grind through the SEC tournament.
And so LSU's upcoming opponents in the SEC, Auburn, Bama, and Ole Miss, are all combined 15 and 39 in the SEC. That's obviously A&M withstanding, but those are the 3 that you would probably circle and go, one of those is sweepable. Like if you want to get to where you are, those are the 3 that you have to be able to get a sweep. And even with that said, you still have to probably take 2 of 3 from A&M. Would you agree?
Yeah. Now, if you have multiple sweeps, right? If you're able to sweep this weekend and you're able to sweep one of those other 2 series, you give yourself a little bit of room too, right? Like, hey, we don't win the series against A&M, or something happens, you give yourself some extra leeway or extra leash with some of those extra wins that you got to pick up on a sweep.
And I wanted to get your thoughts on, obviously, what you saw in the offense. You touched on Larson, but I thought another big key contributor, and it's kind of, I think it's unfair pressure that we're kind of putting on Kling, but it seems to be that the offense goes as Kling goes. When he puts together good at-bats, when he contributes offensively, he seems to always be up with runners in scoring position and 2 outs. We've noticed that throughout the year, but whenever I think he collected 5 hits this weekend, whenever he is a contributor in the lineup and not just somebody that you look at and go, all right, there's out number 1 in the lineup. It's somebody that is actually putting together good at-bats, and this is more of the Kling that he is as opposed to what we saw earlier in the year. How clutch and key has he been in helping LSU? And if you get that guy, how much better does your team look?
Yeah, he's looked a lot more confident at the plate, right? I mean, I think that's obvious. I think that's evident. I think that his swings look more aggressive. He's hitting balls harder. Hit a ball in the left center field gap that felt like it should have been. He probably hit 1 or 2 balls over the weekend that felt like it should have been homers. He had win. Obviously, they weren't homers, but his swings are better. He's more competitive at the plate. He's still getting on base at over 400 clip. And I think as he continues to do that, listen, at this point in the season, I don't see Kling getting to the 330 mark, right? But like, hey, if he gets hot and he gets to the 285 mark at the end of the year, that means over the last 4 weeks he's been red hot. And I think that's important. Obviously, his defense in center field is what's keeping him in the lineup, and his offense has kind of picked up over the last couple of weeks. I love that Jay is saying, hey, you're our guy, go get it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Over the last couple of weeks, he's finally stuck with a lineup.
Yeah, I also think, too, like, if you see him get to that guy, being the guy that gets up to that 285, 270, 275, whatever you want to call it, mark, and he starts swinging it like that, I also think you see an uptick in that defense that he plays. I think you see a more energetic, a more enthused him. I think you see a better version of him. And I think when you get that, then we're getting the player that we thought. But like I said, from day one, he's the guy. When it comes offensively, I was like, this team wants to be anywhere near what they could possibly be. He's got to play well. He's got to play a lot, and he's got to play well.
Yep, no doubt. And I think, honestly, a guy that we really didn't mention much this weekend, or y'all may have before I got on here, but I think Milan came up with some pretty big hits, right? Like, hit an opposite field double off the wall.
First one.
Had a couple big, what?
Got his first pump.
Homer.
Yes.
Yeah, first homer, got up in the jet stream. That's big time. But I think his swings and the moments that he got those swings, I think that's encouraging. I think the fact that I know you couldn't really pull a homer to left, but all the big guys are driving balls out to right center field. I know it had a jet stream, but even hitting balls in that right center field gap with some authority, I think that's a good sign for this offense, right? Like, they stayed true to what they were trying to do. They're able to stay on some of these balls. They weren't coming off of it, and they're driving balls to right center. And I think that's a good sign moving forward. As a righty, Jay, you know that. As a lefty, if you're driving balls in the left center field gap, as a righty, if I'm driving balls in the right center field gap, I feel like my swing's in a pretty good spot. And I think you saw that from a few of the guys in the lineup this weekend.
Yeah.
Kling got absolutely robbed by some of those balls to deep left center. It just, you could see it almost go backwards when it went up in the air.
Did y'all see the exit velos on Sunday? If you go look at the exit velos, Jared Jones is the first 5. His top one is 117 off the bat.
That's pretty good, or no?
He had 5 balls hit over like 108 miles an hour in that one game.
Hey, is that pretty good or no?
That's not bad. Not the worst I've heard. That's not the worst I've heard.
That's attempted manslaughter. That thing goes foul.
Hey, let me ask y'all this. What do we feel about the third starter role?
No. Why did you do this? I was literally about to come to you and say, so let me ask you about the bugaboo, the elephant in the room right now, who
Mikey got some thoughts.
Who just can't seem, we can't get him this thing in his hand over the weekend yet. Talk to me about that one guy.
Okay, here's my deal. I don't understand why he's not getting the start. I don't know why. Can't complain about how the starters threw on Sunday.
Yeah, no.
Y'all are talking about two different things.
No, we're not, because we're talking about the same thing. Because I said this, I went and looked at his numbers. I go, for somebody that has like 24 innings or 29 innings, I think, on the year, but he's got 43 punchies and like 12 walks, I gotta have him pick up this baseball and get on my mound on the weekend at some point. You can't keep putting up them numbers and I don't see you on the weekend. I'm sorry.
Right.
Gotta have you throwing on the weekend at some point. And it can't be if we need you on Sunday. Like, that's not – them kind of numbers don't scream if we need you on Sunday.
That is my issue, right? Like, and look, even more than that, right? I think we both think that Cade should pitch, right? We both think that he should get on the mound, get the experience. I think he's earned that. On the other side of it, you start Ackenhausen because, hey, you have confidence in him. He's the veteran. Okay, fine. You start him. Well, you get down 2-0. And you're putting yourself in a position where your best pitcher up to this point in the year is Griffin Herring.
Yeah.
And so you put yourself in a spot where you may not even put the ball in your best pitcher's hand when he has an opportunity to win a game.
Yeah.
You're going to pitch him from behind. Now, luckily, ended up working out where LSU scored some runs and you put him in the game when it was tied and he threw lights out and finished the game. He ended up getting the win. But he's your best pitcher. So if you're not going to start Cade Anderson, I know you like Griffin Herring coming out of the bullpen, but if you're going to throw him 5 innings out of the bullpen, why don't you start him 5 innings and just start him and let him throw 5 innings?
Yeah.
He's already proven you can do it.
And I said this too. I was like, for some reason, you know how it goes, man. Like, same thing that goes for pitching in my mind. It goes same thing that goes for hitting in my mind. It goes the same thing with pitching when the sense of is like, hey, one dude keeps getting in there, it gets hits, and he's doing it. It becomes contagious, right? If I got somebody like Cade Anderson who I know is going to challenge the strike zone like that, I think a lot more guys are going to start challenging the strike zone like that, realizing like, damn, he's getting dudes out with just fastballs. Maybe I should just throw a damn fastball on the plate. Maybe I should just keep challenging the zone instead of trying to nitpick and punch corners and be perfect and do all this. I'd be like, shit, just throw it in the zone, see what happens. He's doing it. Well, I can't do it.
100%. 100%. And same with Griffin, too. You know, either one of them. I think they're interchangeable. I would like to see Cade because I think the long-term development of him, but Griffin's only a sophomore.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's gonna be relied on next year too. And like this guy, if you don't think Cade's ready, you can't deny that Griffin's ready.
I mean, his numbers are
goofy.
They're goofy in SEC play.
Yeah,
He's got a sub-1 in the SEC. Like, what else do you want? He's striking out almost 2 an inning.
Yep.
Like, what do you want? In
here's-
a role that has not been solidified, he's the guy who can do that.
Yep.
Yeah, just for context, Herring's last 20 innings, he's allowed just 1 run with 31 strikeouts and 3 walks. I don't know what else you got to do, but I think just to play the other side of this conversation, I think there's a point of comfortability with where Nate Ackenhausen starts the game and Griffin comes in because of the numbers. I don't know why you would mix it up.
No, I understand.
Yeah,
I understand.
But also understand with what
But
you're
let me-
saying, if you're getting down 2-0 and it comes 5-0, it's like,
That's-
what? Then you don't get to use
That's it. What happens if it was a 4-0 lead and all of a sudden you don't score any runs in the 7th inning and now your best pitcher hasn't thrown a pitch all weekend and you're down 4-0 with a chance to lose the series? Like, that's my only thing.
See, and here's the thing. When I think about it, like, I'm fine with Griffin's role because at least we know his role. We know what he's being asked to do this year. When I have a team who's walked the amount of guys that we've walked as a team, and I got a guy who's putting up the numbers that Cade Anderson has put up, he's got to get the ball on the weekend, bro. He's got to. At some point, we got to get him throwing on the weekend because if for nothing else, maybe people see him do that and they're like, well, shit, I think I could do that too. That's where I am with it.
No doubt.
We don't. Can any of y'all say y'all know his role right now? It was the midweek starter. It's not even really that right now.
I don't.
So I don't know his role.
He's only throwing 50 pitches on Tuesday.
I don't know his role.
What if he starts tomorrow?
He is.
Is he?
He's going to start tomorrow.
He probably will.
Yes.
He probably will.
I mean, I
He's
guess
going to start tomorrow. He hasn't thrown all weekend. Why would he not start?
That's true. But here's my only, I guess, I don't even want to say pushback, but my only thought process behind this. If Gage Jump doesn't go 7 and a 10-run rule, I'm wondering if you get what Gage Jump has classically gone 4, maybe 5 innings, and then Cage the next guy out the pen. That's my only spot where I think you would see him.
Yeah, but okay, so it didn't happen. So all of a sudden, now you still want to pitch your best guy, one of your best guys.
Right.
Like, you had a guy have the best outing of the year on a Friday when you needed it most, which is great. And then you don't pitch Kate. You don't have an opportunity to throw him the next game because you're down 7-1. And then you don't pitch him on Sunday because you ended up finishing the game with 2 pitches, which ended up working out for you. But it's like, out of all of the guys that have pitched this weekend, I would argue that Cade Anderson's probably the most talented. And he didn't get to throw.
Yeah.
Well, I think it got to a spot on Saturday where you almost have to save that. I know this is not the way you want to look at it, but because of the way that game ballooned on you Saturday, you don't want to quote unquote waste him in a game where what if I need him on Sunday and I burned him when it's 7-1. Like, so I can see the thought process where he's there if I need him, but I understand he's got to throw at some point.
So here's my thing. Here's my only fight back on what you're saying is that's fine, but we also know that that's not the only way he's been used because we've seen it get to where it didn't happen like that on Saturday and you didn't throw him, and then it didn't happen like that on Sunday and you didn't throw him. So where is he being used? We can't say if that was the one outlier where he didn't throw because we knew what his role was and he was going to get in. Cool, I'm not really tripping about it like at all. I'm straight, like I get it, but that hasn't been it. It's literally he hasn't been touching the ball on the weekend, and I'm like, man, I don't know if I could keep letting the dude putting up numbers like that and not touch the ball on the weekend. I don't know how to say it.
Yeah, and listen, we can't criticize Jay at all on Sunday because it worked out, right? Ackenhausen
That's
threw well.
100%. That's where my whole thing is not about just this weekend. It's literally how he's been used this year.
Right, 100%. Like, Ackenhausen 2 weekends in a row has thrown pretty well on Sunday, right? Yep. The 2 runs he gave up, I wouldn't even put that on him, right? There was an error. There was a couple things that happened, and then he settled down, got out of it. Offense did what they needed to do to chip away and tie it. Then you put Griffin Herring in, and Griffin did what he's been doing for the whole SEC, is dealing and finishing the game, and the offense did what they needed to do. So I'm not criticizing Sunday because if LSU plays like that every game, they're going to win a lot of games. Yeah. Right? They played well. They got the hits when they needed to, and it didn't look pretty for the first 3 or 4 innings, but after that, they looked great. So I can't criticize much now. Competition is going to ramp up. Maybe not necessarily next weekend, but the weekends after that, like the offenses are going to be a little bit better. So I just, when you have a guy that's that electric, I would love to see him on the weekend.
My only pushback would be, and maybe this has something to do with it. I don't know. I'm just trying to find.
You've had like 3 pushbacks.
Yeah, I'm just trying to find the reasoning behind it. I'm looking at Cade's numbers in the SEC. He pitched 1 inning against Florida, gave up 3 earned. He pitched 1 inning against Tennessee and gave up 2 earned.
Well, the 1 inning against Florida was the first time he came out of relief.
You see the runs?
The weekend
Did you see the
against
runs that he gave up for Tennessee?
Yeah, I'm just saying. Like, I'm trying to find.
that was
the
after he
reason.
had gotten hot 4 different times, I
Right.
believe. Yeah, like it's a little bit different.
He's a starter. Like you haven't. He's a freshman and he's a starter, and you throw him out this. You start on the bullpen. It's a different role. Like
If I keep
You've
throwing
only
you
had
out
2
there,
minutes.
if I keep throwing you out there as a starter and you just doing it, you're doing it. Or I'm sorry, if I keep hitting you in the 2 hole and you're just doing it and you're doing it and you're doing it, all of a sudden I say, let me hit you in the 8 hole and you don't do it. Or we go sit here and say, I don't think you can do it.
Actually, I like you better as a pinch hitter.
Yeah, I think you're not good. I'm probably just gonna put you back in that 2 spot, right? Like that's
But
probably what I'm gonna do.
With all of that said, would you not argue that this recipe is working? Like, would you try to tinker with it at this point in the year whenever you finally feel like you found some
Well, what-
continuity?
What recipe?
worked 1 weekend.
Yeah,
but it feels
what
like the-
recipe?
The jump, Holman, Ackenhausen, Herring.
Oh no, you're gonna. This is the
You're not gonna
recipe
be able to
moving
use.
forward.
You're not gonna be able to
I believe
use
that.
just 4 arms the whole week.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. If he's a starter, where do you put him?
No. But once again, our gripe is not with just this weekend, because just this weekend is the first time it worked, and it only worked to the tune of basically using 4. I mean, I know he threw Moffitt and he threw Cam and those guys on Saturday, but he threw them when they were down 7-1, right? So like, it hasn't worked yet this year. Yet we keep leaving an arm like that out of the equation on the weekend. That's my gripe.
I guess if it doesn't go perfect, then that's what I'm wondering. I mean, it is a, I don't want to say a waste, but it feels like you're leaving one of your best bullets in the chamber.
Yeah.
But I don't know where he fits in right now. Like I said, if there was a role for him, at this point, I think it's going to be jump whenever he doesn't throw a 7-inning complete game, and you get 5 out of jump, and then you get whatever you get out of. I think he'd be the next one up. It's
Did
the only one that
anybody
makes
get up?
sense.
Was anybody up and in the pen at all on Friday night? At any point in the game?
Maybe at the end a little bit. I don't think though. Look, honestly, dude, I think what you saw from Gage jump, I think he's not gonna go 7 innings.
Yeah, we
you
said
know,
complete game.
Whatever.
Yeah, we talked about it.
Strikeouts,
Yeah.
but like you're gonna start seeing him put up some really good numbers. I think from here. I think he's starting to find his
That's
way.
what we said. I was like, it was not only was it encouraging seeing him go 7 or seeing him throw less than 100 pitches in 7, but it was also encouraging in the fact that he did it in not so ideal weather, especially at this time of the year. So like, all 3 of those things combined, you're like, all right, now he's starting to
Yep.
come on, and this is pretty much kind of when we thought he was going to come on, but we thought we would get more out of the rest of the pitching staff to where it wouldn't be, I guess, this magnified his performances right now, and he kind of got a
Needed.
chance to ease himself into this thing. But this is about the time where I expected to see him basically kind of turn a corner a little bit.
Yep. And, I think what was very impressive to me was he was throwing his slider, which is nasty, right? But he was able to shape it to where, hey, I'm going to throw it, and it's going to throw for a strike, and then I'm going to throw a little deeper, and it's going to get back leg, and just going to be in the dirt. And then at the end of the game, or he was throwing his breaking ball, and at the end of the game, he hadn't shown his slider, and then he starts throwing his slider towards the last inning and a half. And I think, to me, that shows a little out of the maturity that he's got, or he's built up through the course of the last couple.
Hey, you want to know why I'm
weeks.
laughing? I think it's so funny because it's true, and I'm watching you do it. I had a conversation with someone this week, and they're like, "Bro, all you baseball guys do the same thing. When you start talking about pitching, it doesn't matter who it is, but like if it's a righty, you're going with the right arm up when you talk about it. If it's a lefty, you're going with the left arm up.
And then sweeping this way.
He's like, you always illustrate it. It's
We
like,
talk
hey, when it's
overhand.
here, put this one here, you throw this one there. Like we always do that. I thought it was funny as hell watching you do it because I do it.
Oh,
I think I froze.
No, we got
Oh,
him. We
there
got
he
him.
is.
Now
He's back.
He's
Too
back.
animated.
He's
He's
back.
too animated.
He's living.
yeah, there he is.
Yeah.
But to your point about Griffin Herring, we had Doug Thompson on this morning, and he said that watching that Griffin Herring breaking ball, he said it's the nastiest pitch he's ever seen from the booth.
Yeah. No, he's told me that too.
Which is, I guess it doesn't. I mean, it looked good on TV, but I couldn't imagine seeing it from above home plate. Where you're like, this thing has got some
No,
bite.
It's tight. It's tight. It doesn't pop out. It goes in and it just falls off the table. There it is again. There it is.
It's a baseball thing.
It falls off the table. It's a nasty pitch, and his fastball short arm, and his fastball comes out at a weird slot. It's hard to see. I think if he throws strikes like he's thrown, his issue hasn't been he's been getting rocked. His issue is he's been not been throwing strikes, and I think that's the biggest. That's gonna be the biggest thing.
And we talked, I mean, obviously this conversation a little bit about continuity and how you find a place for somebody that you think should play with like within the pitching rotation. But we talked a little bit about like the continuity of what they found offensively, whether it be Larson finding a spot on the team and being able to consistently be there, Paxton Kling being able to consistently be there. And now, I don't know if you heard, but Brady Neal re-aggravated a shoulder injury, and we said maybe not the worst timing of it all because Milazzo being behind the plate for the pitching rotation and what he's done offensively is that he's batting, I think, 285, like able to get you competitive at bats and knows what he's doing at the plate, whether it be time to hit, know where to put the ball and have competitive at bats. How much do you think that plays a role in what this team is capable of doing because of the continuity and the momentum where he's able to kind of manage the pitching staff in a different way? And the guys know who they're throwing to every day, and his voice gets amplified because now he's in the lineup, and you affect things differently whenever you're a part of the team as opposed to first step guy out the dugout, dapping everybody up. Like that means something, but when he's at war with you, like the message rings a little bit differently.
Yeah, I think that I don't have the numbers, and I'm sure that they're out there. I don't know what LSU's record is or ERA is whenever Milazzo is behind the plate, but I would imagine it's better than any catcher we have on the roster. And I think what he brings to you behind the dish, leadership-wise, intelligence-wise, I think that is a huge addition. It sucks that Brady Neal got hurt. It sucks that he was, he's not going to. I don't know how long he's going to be out for, but he had put together some pretty good swings. I think when you see Milazzo in there, it kind of gives a little bit of a different comfort level to the guys and the staff. Just he's a veteran guy. They're used to throwing to him, and this is no slight to Brady Neal. I think Brady Neal's going to be a great player, and I think he's going to have an opportunity to play for a long time professionally. But I think Milazzo just brings something a little differently than anybody else does, and I think that I think Travinski is he's going to be the longevity of him and the success that he's going to have. I think is better suited for the DH role.
Yeah, I'm so glad you brought that up, and it has nothing to do with his ability to and or not catch, right? Like it's nothing with that. But I do think his bat plays a tick up the less he has to actually catch. It saves his legs for whatever the reason. I think he's a better hitter the less he has to catch. So if you can get a Milazzo in there who's able and willing to kind of go back there and do it every time, and obviously this would only be a thing because you have someone as talented as Brady kind of basically take a step back because of an injury, unfortunately, right? If that were to happen and Milazzo steps in and kind of, it's hard to say solidifies, but actually mans that position day in and day out, or at least 2 games out of the weekend,
comfort food.
I think you start seeing more offense from Travinski. And then if you start seeing more offense, that's more protection for Tommy. That's more for Milam if he stays in front of Tommy. That's more for Paxton Kling if he stays in front of them. And then you start seeing something roll a little bit, I think.
No doubt. Listen, this is a big weekend for LSU. I think that they put themselves in a spot where I think they finally felt like they're going to have a lineup that is going to be consistent. I think they finally felt like they have found a recipe, at least with, on a perfect situation. But they found the recipe with the 3 starters right now.
Yeah.
And it's a matter of the bullpen guys, pieces fitting in behind those starters and making sure they do what they need to do and throw enough strikes to keep these guys in it. And I think that, you're going to see the offense play a tick up. I think you're going to see the pitching staff continue to play a tick up. But they got an uphill battle to climb, man. I mean, it's going to be a long road. I'm not saying they can't do it. They got to play pretty much perfect, moving forward.
Let me ask you a question. On a guy where, like, we would all agree that LSU was basically on the mat, 7-8 count, you're at your last ditch to actually get up, look the ref in the eye, and say, I can continue to go, right? Like, that's pretty much where they were going into the weekend. if that's where you were going into the weekend, meaning I need you to stand up, look me in my eye, tell me you can go, and then I put you out there, and then when I put you out there, it's at the leadoff spot. Why didn't we start him off the year there? Is that something that kind of gets in your mind? Like why didn't we think it was a good idea to have him either there and or somewhere lurking in that spot? Because it seems like that's where he feels most comfortable at, if you will.
You're talking about Paxton, right?
Yeah,
I'm assuming.
yeah.
I'm with you. Like he wasn't playing well. You're trying to find it. You put him in, you took him out. You put him in, you took him out, and he still wasn't playing great. And you kept him in, and now all of a sudden you start to see it up. And I think that he's a guy that says, "Hey, listen, just put me in there, and I'm going to figure this thing out. Give me enough opportunity to do it." I don't know why it took that long. When you feel like, "Hey, this is the last move we got." If you feel like desperation, last move on the mat, hey, we got all or nothing. Put your best lineup, and he's back in the leadoff spot. I think that tells you what you need to know as a coach. Like, hey, if we have to win every game forward, and I'm putting him in the leadoff spot.
Yeah.
He's my leadoff guy. He's going to be our center fielder, and I think that gives him a lot more confidence moving forward.
Yep. Lloyd, what you got? Anything on?
No, what were y'all talking about? I got a text message. Other work. Other work. He saw me with my head down. He totally cheated.
Oh my god.
Oh man, hey,
A busy guy.
Am I like choppy over there? Am I choppy over there?
No,
You're
you're
good.
fine. You probably feel just a little bit delayed on your end, but you're fine over here.
You look
Okay,
good.
yeah, I feel a little delayed. I'm a little choppy, but it's
Coach,
okay. We're getting through this.
I did it a couple times, Coach. I know how it is. You got to kind of stay in.
Yeah, I know.
Stay in and
And
just
my
battle
internet,
through.
the hotel internet ain't great.
Just battle through. You got to get the Marriott points. Make it that free one where you can kind of get boosted up on that thing now.
Go up to the roof.
Hey, how about y'all talking about the gymnastics team?
Yeah, come on. We had to give him some love to start this thing.
Hey,
Title time over
Natty,
here.
bro, the national championship.
First time ever in program history. Come on now.
Oh yeah.
First time, unbelievable. I watched some of it. It was pretty impressive.
You know what you were looking
They
at?
had to, huh?
You know what you were looking at? You had it all scored out.
He had no clue.
No, I just didn't.
He had no clue.
I could tell if they lost their balance, or I could tell if they landed it right. I was like, that seemed like it was pretty good.
Stick it.
That's not a perfect 10. Yep, that's not one. I know that.
But man, they had to go and perform. I think they ended on the beam, and that was the last thing, and they had to almost be perfect. They fucking did it, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, shout out Aaliyah Finnegan, because I think they all knew going into it that, like, hey, I'm not gonna say anything that you don't know, but pretty much on you for a natty right here. And she absolutely responded.
Baby.
Did you see her? They had a video of her like walking.
Hey, that's a dope spot to be in.
yeah, after she soaked it
Hey,
up, she fucking loved it.
Everybody's eyes on it, like, hey,
The whole team,
this
like,
is me, baby.
Hey, go hit a home run real quick, first pitch. Like, okay, got you.
Got you.
Like, dude, they have video of her walking to the beam, and she sees the camera, she just chunks the deuces and gets on the beam. I was like, okay.
Oh, I gotta see that video.
Yeah, dude, it's dope.
Wait, I gotta see that video.
Yeah.
Can we play that on here? Can we run that on
absolutely.
here?
It's
I gotta
from-
see that video.
That's an Olympian, baby. That should be all of our curtain calls.
That was already mine. I'm like, what else is there to talk about?
Oh,
First time in program history. Like, no, that's the curtain call.
Yeah, especially to be in that spot where LSU has always been at the table but never got to eat, and then to be like, all right, there's a lot of program history riding on this one. Like, LSU's been there, I think, finished second 4 times, and then be like, all right, let's either make it 5th or make this 1. And he's like, gotcha. So I'll pull this up.
Yeah, let's get this video in here. That's actually kind of dope.
And,
I like
and
that.
then on the flip side, oh, is it the video?
No, hold on.
He's coming.
It comes
He's
through
coming.
where your microphone comes through, so I'll have to mute it. But you don't need to see you don't need the audio.
I just want to see it.
I don't know if you'll be able to see it.
Oh,
I'll make a little screen. Y'all keep talking. I'll
He
let
should
you know
be
when
able
it's
to.
ready. Yeah. I got to make a new little.
If he's got
input.
like the little.
and on the flip side of it, every par 3 on this golf course had a $200,000 hole-in-one bonus. How many greens y'all think I hit today?
0.
I hit 0 greens.
How many holes did you hit?
What was that?
You hit it. Did it not touch the hole? Just straight in? I mean, not touch the green. Just dunked it.
I dunked them all in there. I just made $1 million today on dunking hole-in-ones. I made 4 in one day.
Yeah, nice.
5.
That's what you showed up for.
Yeah, I would go remote too.
Good thing we didn't put you on beam to win a natty.
Look here, and here's the video.
Yeah, no shit, huh?
Here's the video. It's just like at the very beginning. Like, so here's her going up to the beam.
I got this, coach. I
got this.
Cuss. I'll come right back with this natty, cuss. Hey, cameraman, was ham with it.
Deep breath, exhale. She's like, "Oh, this is it. I'm made for this. I'm an Olympian."
You got a
baby.
smile like that heading into that. That's when you know you're ready.
Slow
I'm an
mo.
Olympian, baby.
Uh.
Oh, look.
Okay.
It's me.
Hey, yo, that's
It's my time.
fire. Hey, I love that.
Bro,
My time.
That was fire.
if you're UCLA, like,
You
I'm
know
in
what?
Cal,
You know what that
you're like,
reminds me
"Oh,
of?
Shit.
Hey, you know what that reminds me of? That reminds me of when Villanova won the national championship in basketball that year, and the head coach, after he drew up the play, Jay Wright draws up the play. They run the play, and they show him from the sideline as soon as he lets it go, and he just goes bang,
Bang.
and he just walks away as casual as possible.
Yeah.
That's so. It gives me chills,
knows
dog.
it.
That's fire.
Dude, it's worth watching the whole thing because the endings, like the look on her face after she fucking crushes it is like she knew what was at stake here. Like it's impossible to ignore. But like this whole
Yo,
routine
she's
is
an Olympian,
unbelievable.
dude. Like, she's ready for Paris.
I couldn't even I couldn't walk a straight like that should be the DUI test. Just see if you can walk on it.
She's doing flips on it.
Yeah. Sticks it, and then immediate cry.
Straight to it. Like she
Uh-huh.
already knew what she just did. Respect.
Let's go.
I respect
What was
that.
her score?
I think 9-9-2.
Respect.
Wow.
I respect it.
Whatever it was is enough.
Walk off Grant.
Yeah, exactly.
Love that.
I love
Congratulations to the gymnastics
You
team.
want to take us to our
I
seggies now?
do have another curtain call because this is just awesome. Talking about stepping up for the pressure.
Whoa, we're not the current call.
Oh,
yet.
okay. Oh, well then here comes mistake of the day, brought to you by Dozy
Dozy
Place. And I'm sure y'all saw this. The ump show was on full display in the Yankees. I believe it was the Pirates game. First inning. I think we're about 7 minutes into game action.
Oh, boy.
Whenever it turns into the straight ump show. I'm gonna show this for the allotted 10 seconds that we get for anything that is baseball related because they're Nazis with their equipment.
Is that what it is? 10 seconds?
Yeah.
So the fan in the blue
Wow.
shirt is the one who says something to Hunter Wendelstadt. That's what he reacts
Boom! Look at I didn't say shit.
to. Boone, who says, "Whoa, I didn't
Oh.
say anything." And Brad Ausmus is pointing, saying, "It's a fan. It's a fan."
Wait, time out. Did y'all actually see his quote? What he said, the umpire?
I don't
said-
give
No,
I
he's
don't
a-
care.
So he's no. He said that he 100% heard that somebody in the end of the dugout said something, and since he didn't know who it was, he knows that for sure that Aaron Boone is the manager, so that's why he's got to go. But it's very obvious right there. He thinks it's Aaron Boone that said something, and it was not Aaron Boone that said something. That's crazy.
If
Wow.
you're, go ahead.
This man just throwing people out without even knowing who did it.
Yeah, dude, talk about having rabbit ears. Like, whoever says the next word, you're getting tossed, and Brune's like, fine, whatever.
And
How
that's first inning.
how do you feel if you're the fan? How do you not stand up and be like, I fucking said that? What are you gonna do to me? Like, you'd get tickets for life.
He probably did say it.
Yeah.
You can't toss the fan out.
No, not for that. No,
No.
I 100% would have stuck
Wow,
up for my
that
guy.
was dumb, dude.
that's terrible.
That's Mr. Sensitive over there.
That's bad.
Hey, rabbit ears, pipe down. over
Pipe
there.
down.
Fuck.
Call the game. You're you're up in warm up pitches right now.
Do your
Yes.
job, dude. Worry about the game.
And then I do have
Terrible.
my curtain call queued up, and this is unbelievable. As
Third
you,
call brought to you by where?
Assured Partners.
And
And
And me.
me. So as you know that Michael Jordan, huge NASCAR guy.
huge.
Huge. His
Huge.
dad got him into it when he started bringing him to the tracks. I'd imagine that's where some of the gambling comes from. Just the rush.
I knew he was about to say something. I knew he was going there.
And so he has, I think it's Joey Logano, who just won the Daytona 500, and Michael Jordan is on the scene, and then this is what he says to him right after the race.
You're gonna be wasted on the plane. Absolutely wasted. Thank you, gentlemen. See you guys later.
What a cool ass dude. We get wasted on the plane, Joey.
That's great. I love that.
My guy, dude. Likes to have a good time.
He doesn't hide it either. Have you seen Joey Logano's car? It is
I can
dripped
imagine
out.
it's awesome.
It's just Jordan.
all Jordan stuff,
It's
right?
the
Yeah,
concrete
yeah.
Jordan, and it is unbelievable.
Ah,
I'll see if I can
pretty
find a
good.
picture of it. But regardless, curtain call to MJ and his crew, and Joey Logano getting to have the night of his life on
Yeah,
MJ's dime.
I'm sure he'll have a story for that one 10 years from now. I would only imagine so.
No doubt.
And I got the proof.
No doubt.
And then obviously the show, as a show, the rest of our curtain call or curtain calls, if you however you want to call it, is we've mentioned them a couple times, but it's still worth mentioning even more. First one of program history, LSU gymnastics. Yes, indeed. Bringing on back to Title Town.
Yes.
Good times. Hey, it's a good time to be a student at LSU. I can tell you that.
Hey, a lot of championships, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Good
A
time.
lot of
Tiger Droppings enjoyed it all for 5 seconds, and they go Beth 3 in a hot seat.
Oh my God.
She just became
But
LSU's,
she just went, oh yeah.
after she became LSU's winningest all-time softball
my
coach.
God.
Like, why don't you win us a championship, Beth? Like,
Good
Jesus Christ, the
God.
boys don't enjoy anything.
Nothing. They're just ready to just.
No, on to the next one. Next best thing is bullshit. Brian Kelly's on the hot seat too, I guess.
Yeah,
Doesn't
it
have
has
doesn't
to
have-
be. But here's the whip.
Oh, he's got the 45
Damn.
Yeah,
joint.
number 4-5.
He's got the 45.
Damn, that's pretty sick.
Yeah, that's the coolest NASCAR of all NASCARs.
Yeah, I'm with that.
That is badass.
I like to drive that.
That's
I
pretty
hate
sick.
to, don't touch it. Don't be rubbing and racing with me.
I get behind that.
I do want to go take a car on one of the tracks. You know, you can take like a Ferrari or a Lambo, and you can ride drive it on a racetrack. I definitely want to.
Yeah, I'd much rather be the one in the driver's seat than actually in the passenger seat for that. I can
What's
tell you that.
what's the insurance on that?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Pretty high.
Pretty high, probably.
Can you
Could you imagine being in the passenger seat for that, though? I'm good, dog. You driving too fast for me to have no control.
I'm only gonna be in the passenger seat if I have a professional race car
Still
driver
not
driving.
Actually, I do it, but I just
Which
feel
was
like,
the
man, this
clutch?
shit is weak. Yeah, I'm out. That ain't for
Yeah,
me.
that's why I need the automatic.
That ain't for me. Hey, dog. It was good. I'm glad you got in here. I'm glad you got on this thing now.
I'm glad I got here too. I would have been here way earlier, but the person that was picking us up decided to just lollygag around. Took us forever.
Who? Lloyd
Well,
came there? Lloyd's here.
John Randall wasn't happy.
Lloyd's here.
John Randall wasn't happy.
Put the face paint on.
Hey. So funny story. So John, we're waiting for this guy, and he's taking forever. And John looks at me. He goes, "Hey, you want to go eat dinner? Go get a steak at this steakhouse down the street from the hotel?" I said, "Yeah, for sure." So we come back, and the guy's bringing us. He goes, "Where are we going?" He's like, "Oh, we're going back to the hotel. John's like, I'm gonna go to whatever steakhouse we're going to." This guy proceeds to invite 3 other people to the steakhouse with him. Say, "Hey, we're going to the steakhouse. Meet us there, whatever." And John says, "Nah, bro, just bring me back to the hotel. I'm going to take a shower. I ain't going to the steakhouse anymore."
Y'all go. I ain't going.
He said, "Man, this man invited his whole family to come eat with us. I just wanted to go have me and you." I was like, "Listen, man, I'm whatever you want to do." But he goes, "No, we're gonna go shower, and then we're gonna sneak out." I said, "Okay."
In the club.
That's great. Love that.
Oh,
Love
dude.
that for you. All right,
Yeah,
folks.
great guy.
That's
Hey,
what we
I
got for
appreciate
you.
y'all holding it down.
I can't. We lost audio with him.
What's that?
No,
Oh,
Mikey?
Can you hear me now?
yeah, we got you back now.
Can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
We got you.
What?
Hey, I appreciate y'all holding it down.
Yeah, come on, dog. Team effort here. We roll the same.
We
You know how
got
we
you.
roll. That's how this thing goes.
That's
The
it,
show
baby.
must go on.
Oh, y'all.
The show must go
Oh,
on.
and what,
Hey, you close it out then. You close it out. Y'all started. Y'all close it out.
what
Hey.
final curtain? Mitchell's mama's birthday today.
Yes, for the second time today. Happy birthday, Mama.
Just want
Love you,
everybody
Mama.
to know. Yes.
I wouldn't be here without you, literally.
Thank you,
Literally,
Mike.
it's impossible.
Yeah.
Literally. Hey, thank y'all for being here. We had a great time with y'all on Monday. It's been awesome. Mikey will be back in studio on Wednesday. We look forward to seeing you on Wednesday. Thank you for everybody for being here. Thank you for all the sponsors for sponsoring. Thank y'all for being a part. See you Wednesday. See you.
Peace.